bring you some highlights from the speech he made. He said that this day provides us an opportunity to reflect on our struggles and how to sustain our democracy. He also talked about the fact that in 2019, he made some promises with regards to insecurity, the economy, and corruption, and he felt, or he deemed it necessary to bring account of his service to Nigeria in the past 1 year. And on the aspect of economy, he talked about how that he has ensured development of infrastructure to improve government. He talked about how the GDP has grown, how the GDP grew from 2018 to 2019 and took a decline in the first quarter of 2020 as a result of COVID-19. And he talked about how he ensured that the monetary authority took steps to grow external reserves. And he also talked about how his government has resolved to ensure the support for agriculture because of the fact that agriculture still remains key to our diversification agenda. And he also talked about how Nigeria rose 25 places in the World Bank's ease of doing business. He talked about ongoing efforts or commitment rather to reviving the mining sector. He's looking at the resuscitation of the Ajakuta Steel Project. And he also talked about tackling the challenges that exist in the delivery of power. And on the transportation aspect, it says 64% of the road projects are being completed. 48% of work on the Niger Bridge is also being completed. And the Federal Road Maintenance Agency has completed about 4,000 kilometers of the roads. He also touched on the fact that he has ensured, or his administration has ensured, that peace is restored in the Niger Delta region. And that is why he is committed to ensuring a forensic audit of the Niger Delta Development Commission, that's the NDDC. And he spoke about how critical digital economy is to the Nigerian economy. He also talked about the provision of affordable housing. Let's quickly move on now to security. He says the government remains unshaking in protecting Nigeria's national infrastructure on and offshore, and also protecting Nigerians. He says his government is committed to ending criminality and that all local government areas occupied by Boko Haram is being recovered. And he implored all states and local governments to revamp their local security. And he touched on the fact that a police trust fund has been established. And he mentioned that successes have been achieved in the areas of smuggling. On the social investment programs, he said that a lot of work is being done to ensure that all the imbalances with regards to social issues are being addressed. He talked about the conditional cash transfer and how about 9 million children are being fed and ensured that they are kept in school. And he also talked about the anti-corruption fight, how about 800 billion naira have been recovered and 1,400 convictions has been gotten so far by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. But then let's bring in our guest now, a political analyst, Gbola Oba, to talk to us on his view of the president's speech. Gbola, you listened to this speech by the president. Did it capture the essence of the day? Did he touch on everything you expected him to?
To be very honest with you, without wanting to sound rude, I would say it speaks to the same presidential platitudes that Nigerians have gotten used to. There is this platitudinal speech making by our leaders on landmark days like this, and to be honest, it barely scores above it. I won't say one of President Muhammadu Buhari's longest speeches. I must be honest with you, because at some point his speeches were averaging about 7 minutes plus. But this is a bit elongated, a bit more detailed, a bit more calculated to intimate his audience with his accomplishments, his efforts at making things, at perfecting the change or delivering the change he promised in 2015. But at best for me to be kind, just at the level of the platitudinal presidential speeches that we've gotten used to in this polity.
He said he deemed it fit to give account of his stewardship based on the promises he made in 2019's Democracy Day. And he touched on security, the economy, and perhaps the infrastructure, corruption as well. I wonder if you are to go specifically to all of these areas, did you see any improvement made so far from his speech? What has changed between 2019 and now?
Security obviously has deteriorated. As I'm talking to you now, as a southwestern Nigerian, somebody from the Yoruba-speaking area of Nigeria, I cannot, with due respect, I cannot drive to places I used to drive to for weekend holidays or get out of the madness of the metropolis to the rural area. There are so many areas I can't freely drive to now without having some major psychological problems as a result of recent security situations. If you're talking about security, people protested about 3 or 4 days ago in the president's own state because of insecurity. They literally protested and burned one of his posters. We have banditry in northwest Nigeria, insurgency in northeast Nigeria, middle belt Nigeria is ravaged by people who want to take the ancestral homes and territories of some other Nigerians. The South came up a couple of days ago. Indeed, the leader of the opposition party in the House of Representatives a couple of days ago, speaking on behalf of the South, and some South members actually supported him, were saying that some immigration measures should be taken to hinder those who just flock into Nigeria without any form of documentation to come and wreak havoc on Nigerians, that they should be curtailed at the border. Now, if you're talking about security, the scorecard is really very low. The economy, to be kind to the president on the economy, I would say he could latch in now on the excuse, that COVID-19 provides, the lockdown, the global lockdown, and indeed the lockdown in Nigeria of COVID-19. But let's be very honest with ourselves. The real situation out there, and I'm talking as an entrepreneur, the real situation out there is that the business environment is now very constricted, very asphyxiated, very, very choked. So I want to be kind to the president that, this is a global phenomenon. But having said that, he priced his administration on having been rated to have improved the ease of doing business in the country. Or there are parameters that others are using, those who are doing the calculations. I respect their parameters, but as a player on this field, I want to see better. I want to see better, not because I'm not saying, not because I'm saying that what they have done, they've not tried, but you know what? Better is far better than the good that is they want to seem to be priding themselves on. So I want to tell them that even at this juncture, I can't score them 50% yet. I will still be vacillating between 35 and 45. which is a bare pass mark, but as a player on this field, I need to see Nigeria has better potentials in human resources and in our ability to be creative than what the governments across the three tiers of governance in Nigeria, the local, the state, and the federal, give to Nigerian entrepreneurs. The Nigerian entrepreneurial field, as we speak, is not the best, and is not very encouraging, very enabling of the average entrepreneurially disposed Nigerian to maximize his or her potential. So I don't want the president to go to town celebrating on that. But nobody can rubbish the fact. No one can rubbish the fact that some improvements have been put on the table, and the international community are rightly celebrating that.
All right.
On housing.
All right, still talking on the economy before you move on to housing, he said that agriculture is key to our diversification drive. And we would recall that before COVID-19, the president ensured that the borders were closed, and he ensured that we began to look inward, especially farmers, to eat Nigeria, grow what we eat, and eat what we grow. How have we, took advantage of this, and how do we build on this to move further?
I was one who supported the president on the border closure. Initially, when he announced it, I laceratingly criticized him, but when I took the pain to forensically look into the cases they presented and the abuses, the enormous abuses that our neighboring countries were inflicting on us because of the lackadaisical attitude of our institutions and the blatant failures of our institutions to hold them to ECOWAS treaty, to treaty commitments, I changed my mind to start supporting him. And I was vociferous too about my support as I was vociferous about my criticism. And I am one who believes that the issue of border closure comes in two folds. One is the need for us to be independent in some very strategic and critical area of life. We must be in a position to feed ourselves. Look at what has happened now since the unraveling of the pandemic. Countries that we used to depend on for importation of food and vital materials, pharmaceuticals and others, they've now embargoed exports in their countries. Countries like India has embargoed exports of pharmaceutical products and indeed materials, raw materials for pharmaceutical products manufacturing. Countries like Thailand have embargoed exportation of rice, notwithstanding the fact that they were only exporting to us rice that were average of 11 to 15 years old and that profoundly lacked nutrients. So I'm sitting here now thinking the president, in the backdrop of some of the strikes, commendable but not yet uhuru strikes in the agricultural sector, it behoves the president and the administration to further articulate this advantage by making sure that Nigeria gains food security, utter food security, and that we also come to a position where agriculture shapes the feeding of our industry in the manufacturing area. We can't be depending, in the light of what we have learned in the scenario of COVID-19, we can't be depending on other countries that may, at the snap of the finger, like this pandemic has shown us, that may embargo whatever we import from them. So I want to say, but I would still owe the congratulations to the president on the strides of the administration in the agricultural area. Now, as a Lagosian, we can see that the Lagos food market, especially the Lagos rice market, is now being inundated by locally grown rice.
Right.
And to be honest with you, that in itself is an accomplishment.
Right.
But he has my corn. He has my corn. But before I put the gratulation, I want to see more.
All right. Thank you so much, Gbola Oba, for speaking with us.